Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the ITL. Excuse me. Actually, this ITL I'm going to basically use as kind of an introduction to the it's going to be an off and on ham radio series. Basically, follow me going through the steps of being a ham radio operator. But yeah, so let's start from the beginning. Okay, you go through the normal procedure stuff to study for your exam, for the testing, the examination. And you finally get in, you pay your money to take the examination, get your tech ticket, your tech examination, and you pass it. Good for you. Good for you. Congratulations. I just did mine this last December, as of the date this is recording. And so currently I have my tech tickets. Now what does that entail? Well, actually I got a printout. If you don't already know, I mean, because you could be like me and I didn't even get the books you can get and order and buy. I actually took the online course, which if anybody asks about it, I'll go ahead and I will put that link down in the description if somebody asks about it. You can do the online course, or you can just download the app for your Android and take it for it. It's from the ITL actually puts on the one. And actually I got a printout here, and I'll actually see if I can find the actual PDF and leave a link down in the description for this. This is what you're allowed to do. The red and green and yellow, that's the bands you're allowed to use, the frequencies. And if you look at it, it's mainly UHF, VHF. So what do you do from there? Now you know that information. Well, you could go out, and if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money, or you don't have a whole lot of money, and get yourself a cheap Baofeng UV5R, or something with, you know, equivalent. And I mean, you can get the UV5R online right around $20, a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. Depends on where you get it. Or quite a bit more, actually. I've seen them quite a bit higher. But mine, I paid right around $21 after shipping and handling, $22. And here it is right here. Now, this thing here does come with a little rubber, they call it a rubber duck antenna. And that'll get you, like a mile, 2 miles out with this little rubber duck antenna. And actually, to give you a little bit of a perspective here, about 3-4 miles away is a repeater from another town. This little rubber duck antenna could not touch it. I mean, it just could not touch it. I could not get on it. So what I did is go out and got this. This is actually a Nagoya antenna. This is a fake. You can get the fakes for around between $8 to $15, depends on where you get them. Is it as good as the name brand? I've never had a name brand one, so I couldn't really tell you. But this works. This works actually pretty decent. This got me out to about 13.5 miles, 13.6 miles, and that's pushing it. That's really pushing it because the weather starts affecting everything else out that way. And actually, there's a repeater, about 13.6 miles. I'm able to get on with this. But it's not constant. It's kind of a hit and miss type thing. So, but this gets me around to the local repeater. That's 3 to 4 miles away. No problem. I mean, I hit it hard. So I'm like, yeah, that works. But you want to get out further. You want to see how far this is, because my Baofeng, I heard reports that they're about 5 watts. There are 4 watts. I looked it up. Mine's 4 watts. I haven't had it tested, but that's what they said. It's 4 watts. And I mean, it's a low watt radio. But you could do, as long as you're communicating. Hey, you're out there communicating, great. You know what I mean? But it's a foot in the door. That's what it is. It's actually a foot in the door. But say if you have the need to get out further. You want an external antenna that screws into your radio, for example, because those should be able to get you out further, which from what I understand, they do. which I have plans in the future to run through a few different antennas, external antennas. One that I'll be actually mounting onto my home, and just running out to this radio because it's UHF, VHF local. It'll work for me, for what I wanted it to do, for this little radio to do. So, you want to remember, though, that you are still, you got to stay within these frequencies, okay? And the common ones are the 70 centimeter, that's UHF. Then you get the 2 meter VHF. I normally use the 2 meters, and the VHF, that's what's common for the repeaters around here. So, I mean, that's just what I end up using. So, knowing that, and this can handle it, no problem, do you want to get out further? What antenna do you want to get? Well, it depends on, do you want something you can make at home on a real cheap, maybe order a few parts, a few connectors and stuff, or do you want to buy something? Now, I'm not going to go into the realm of what you can buy. I'm going to go in the realm of what you can make. What you can make it on the fly, even if you have, long you have the right connectors to yourself. And right now, I'm actually missing some of the connectors. I have to order them. I have to get the coax. Oh, actually, I'm coax connectors for the feed-in, and actually a connector for the Baofeng radio. I'm going to go with the 2-piece. Now, it's better off to go with 1 piece if you can, but the way I'm going to do it is going to be basically a quick connector to be able to get quickly on and off, and not wear all my threads that are on this antenna. I want to try to preserve the threads on the radio as much as possible. Yeah, you do get some loss that way. It doesn't everything else, but it's very minimal. And you got to remember, you got to pay attention close to SWR. And actually, I can go into what that is, but not for this particular video. We can go into that into another video. But SWR is very important. That's because you don't want to hurt the radio, and you want to be able to get out. Okay, we'll just simplify it that way. And this little radio, it can be a little bit off, and it'll handle it. I mean, you're only putting out 4 to 5 watts, so this radio should be able to handle it, no problem. Just get it really close. Now, to find out the SWR, which we'll go over this more in the future, is that you need a meter. Well, you can get the SWR meter. There's several different types, or a couple different type of meters. I'll be eventually going with just the standard SWR meters, which I do have one, but it's for a CB radios setup. Thank you very much. But the CB radio, for the CB radio, I found out you can actually use those and get it close for these little radios. You just have to know how to use it, because it doesn't work the same way. Because you have to read, gotta read both directions. You're transmitting and receive. You have to read both directions. That's so. But there's a way to use it though. It'll get you close. It'll get you close. Especially if you're just going off, say under 10 watts, you should be just fine. This is actually checking with other ham radios operators too. So it's just not my word; it's other words too. You can find them online. And a lot of people will say, "Well, I wouldn't trust it." Well, I wouldn't either if you're pumping out more than say 10 watts. You know what I mean? But for under 10 watts and under, I don't see a problem. But let's go ahead and move on from this. So, you look around your house, what do you have? Well, a lot of houses nowadays has old coax cable laying around. Old coax cable. It's from, the satellite TVs, the cable TVs and stuff, different systems being installed, and a lot of it's no longer being used. They're completely disconnected, and they're just there. You know what I mean? Or they're balled up in a corner somewhere. This is not quite that, but it's close enough. just like this. This is, I mean, this is coaxial cable, but I actually stole this off of an old CB antenna I had. It no longer worked, and it'll be just fine. So you still get, I actually made one before, actually a couple days ago, and it's all together but the cable ends. I got to order the cable ends, coaxial ends for it. But it's easy, it's simple. You could use it in the field, no problem. Heck, if you really wanted to, if you got a point on the house and you want to hang this up, you could use this as a house antenna if you really wanted to, and it should get you out there. But remember, you got to be right around 5 feet or more away from a metal structure. That way you're not getting reflection, or it's not hindering your ability to put out. But knowing that you guys know now I have this, and let's go ahead and switch from this view to I'm actually going to do this on the hood of my SUV, and I'll show you how to go ahead and go about. Okay, hopefully this works out really well. I'm actually using my JVC for this shot, so well, if nothing else, I'll have to adjust it. That's fine and dandy. So to do this, what we're going to use, well, what I'm going to use at this time, is actually a little multi-tool. Some people call them Leatherman. This is not a Leatherman. This is actually just a knockoff. Actually, it's one of the waterfowl. I don't know if you can see that too well. The waterfowl. There, I'm not advertising for them. I just happen to pick this up somewhere, and it's my little multi-tool slash Leatherman. It's not the really good name brand, but it does the job for me normally. Because I mean, normally it's just small stuff. And no, I'm not a giant with big hands. It's just the way things happen to work out for this. Let me see if I can zoom, pull away. That's the furthest way I can pull away. Okay. Okay, so we got my coax. Okay. One final thing here. Okay, one thing I did forget is a little tape measure, which this is a little teeny one I normally carry in my tank bag. It's just I mean, it's whatever you need. This is actually little 3 foot job. And actually, what I'm going to do is I actually, to find out how long of an antenna, because what we're doing is we're building a vertical antenna. To figure out how long it is, there's actually a mathematical formula for this, but for just for simplicity, we'll go over the formula later on in another video. Just for simplicity, we'll say use an app that I'm going to leave down in the description. It's actually a site link down in the description of this video, and you can figure it out. It's really easy. You just got to know what frequency you want to use, and then it figures it out for you. But right now, I'm actually going right around. Oh, I use the 2 meter frequencies. Normally, I'll go 146, and if I remember right, that's where right in between the 19 inches and 20 inches. It's in between there. It's going to get me in the ballpark for now. And what I don't want to do is I want to measure this out and do it in the ballpark. And what you do is whenever you go online and you use the calculator, it'll give you the full length. What you want to do is cut that in half, because divide that in half, divide it by 2, and that will actually get you where we want to go. Because don't forget, okay, whenever we're building this, you're going to have two leads. One is will be your center conductor, because we're going to use the center conductor. The center conductor actually uses the top part. Then you see this outside braid right there. I mean, I got this outside braid right here. That's going to be the one going down. Okay, but you can see this coax actually has it's not a solid lead in the center. If you do this, it's better to use a solid, but this will work. If you're going to do this, it's better if you can find 50 ohm cable. You can use a 75 ohm if that's all you have. It will work. This should work also. I mean, it should have no problem. But you just remember, after you build it, you get your ends, you get your end put on it, and then put it on a meter and make sure and get it get it ballparked. And how you ballpark it, well, how you tune it in, I'll show you how to do that. But I'll have to show you how to do that in the future because I don't have the ends. So we'll go ahead and do this up. Okay, after you cut it, you want yourself, make sure you have a nice little clean end on it. Actually, I cut it a little bit crooked, but that's okay. They ain't gonna make it too much of a difference. But what you want to do is measure out your 20 inches. So remember, I'm going to go ahead and do the 20 inches. That way I'm ballpark, and that's all I need to be right now, because this is going to be tuned in later on. You can always add, you can always subtract, subtract, but you cannot add whenever it comes to these wires. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my non-Leatherman here from plier state to my penknife state. And be careful whatever you do. And basically it's to use my little penknife off it. This is plain sharp for what I need to do. Okay, I'm at my, okay, this is all rolled up, so let's pull it out a little bit. Okay, I'm at where the area where I've measured off. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and put my knife on the outside casing. I do not want to cut through the outside casing. What I want to do is just score it a little bit. Don't cut it, because you run risks of damaging the. Actually, it's a grounding wire, outside grounding braid of the wire. You don't want to do that. We'll be using that. Okay, you got it scored. You take your wire just like this, and you bend it. Now, can you see that? How it's just opened right up. You bend. You can just do that all the way around, and it should open right up for you. If it doesn't, if you got a little piece like I have right there, it's probably hard to see in the camera. I have a little piece that's just not quite scored all the way. Go ahead and just go back and score that just a teeny bit. Don't cut it all the way through. Just score it a teeny bit, and it will give loose. But you go ahead and just go all the way around and score it. I have another area right here. Just push it down. Don't cut. And that's fine and dandy now. Now, from here, it gets a little bit more difficult. Now, we want to remove the short side, the one you just measured out. You want to remove the this black cover, casing. Okay, how do you get it off? Well, it's not that hard, really. It's not really that hard. I'm used to doing it with my other knives other than this, but it's not that hard. What I do is you go ahead and bend it like I showed you before, and you score. Don't cut all the way through. Score. Just get that started to go through. Then you take your fingernails, which mine's not, don't have the fingernails anymore. Mine's not really working with me. So what I'm going to do is just kind of very lightly cut it. Very lightly. You start feeling any metal, stop. And get yourself a little bit of get yourself a little bit of room to work with in there. And you can actually separate that. See how I just separated that? Right there? Okay. Now you have this little area where you just started cutting it. Go ahead and score that. It's kind of hard for me to do it here, but go ahead and just score that down the length of your wire. What I do is I do short sections because it's just easier for me. Then you just grab a hold of this piece here that you've cut just cut and separated, and just get that pull. You give it a pull, it should come out right along the square, which mine didn't. So this just proves you it's not always perfect. I didn't score it deep enough, that's what it was. So I got to go through and just rescore. This knife is a little dull, so I shouldn't be using a dull knife. You always, that's one thing, you'll get a hurt on a dull knife quicker than you will a sharp knife. That's just fact. I'm going to go ahead and just put this like that, out of your sight a little bit, so it doesn't curl up on me. But I just basically restarted where like I had it before. Okay, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and just score down. I'm using the tip of the knife to score this time. Be really controlling about it. Don't go too deep, but you want it deep enough where it'll separate when you pull. Okay, and let's go just a little bit like that. Okay, you see it's starting to come off here. Just keep on going down the wire. The coax. Pardon me. Sorry you can't see too much. My big hands are on the road. But you'll get the idea what I'm doing. Basically, we're just removing the outside insulation. I don't want that sliding down. There you go. Just remove the outside insulation, and you can see how it's coming off. This is a little time consuming. Just a little. But remember, the only thing we're spending on this is getting the right connections to match our radio. Really. There we go. I know this video is running long for you guys. I'm trying to rush it up for you. It should go pretty quickly after I get this casing off. This insulation. Just be careful not to cut yourself. And how I tend to do it is I'll run, see how I'm holding the knife? Like this, okay? And what I do is I run the cable right under my first finger here into the blade and kind of guide it with this finger here, so it tries to keep it in a straight line. So it makes it a little bit easier. Now I only have about 3 inches longer to go. Just for safety, I figured I'd go ahead and explain to you, because you might be struggling and no, this is a way that I have done it for quite a long time. Okay, I got that off. You discard that into the garbage. Now you've got what looks like this. Okay. What you got here is, this is your braiding, what is the ground braiding on the outside, and inside that you have a little white, should be white insulation in there, and your copper, your center conductor right in there. You probably can't see it in the camera, but it's there. Like I said, mine is, you should be using what is a solid conductor, but this should work. Mine just happens to be off of a CB antenna. But what you could do is you take your you start right here where you started removing your insulation, outside insulation, and you start pushing. Actually, let's start at the other end, maybe a little bit easier. It's much easier. You start pushing this back to where you have the inside shown just like that. You just keep on working that back. Keep on working that back. The last one I did worked out no problem as long as I at the bottom, but this one here is just being a little tricky for me. Okay, what you're doing is you're wanting to work it back to where it's kind of bunched in down here. And whenever you bunch that in down here, what I'm going to do, actually the first one I ever did was actually a lot easier than this. But what you want to do is you want to bend your wire so it's like that, and have that bunched in area all gathered up right in that area. Then you could take something, and I'm going to use just another tool off of my Leatherman, because you don't want to hurt the outside. You don't want to hurt this braiding right here, but you want to open it up. What you want to do. So I'm going to use is just a little pick punch is on my Leatherman. You can use a straight screwdriver or Phillips. Just be careful not to hurt that, break any your strands. And actually, my first one was a lot easier than this because I don't know why. It's probably because of different cable. But you could actually, what you could do is you work it in, and I'll show you here in a few minutes exactly what I'm doing. You just kind of separate the braids. It's hard to show on camera because I gotta see what I'm doing too and everything. Get a little bit more going there. Okay, I've got it set, I got it pushed in there, and you work it out of the braid. I'm going to end up struggling with this a bit to do this. First one was so much easier. Okay, you can see how I got that working out. Just work your way, just work it out. Work it out, work it out. And that should pull right on out. And we're almost done with this part. Then you just pull your braid so it's flat. If you break one or two little wires, that's okay. Just wind it on in there so it doesn't pop out or anything. That's why I kind of measure long. I always measure long. That way little things like this doesn't affect it at all. Now you just keep on pulling it out until it's nice and skinny. Now this end where you got the insulation, there's a little conductor, center conductor in there, and what I would do is I would use a pair of wire strippers, but I don't have any on hand. So what I'm going to do is just the way I do it. Got my pen knife here. Be very careful. Go back. Well, I would go about maybe, I don't know, ½ inch. Stop whenever you feel it. Go through the insulation and barely hit the wire. That way you're not nicking the wire, cutting the wire. And my knife is super dull right now. But I got it through and I'm able to pull it right off. I'm going to wind up because mine's got it's on a solid core. I wound it all up. Now, I don't have the connectors, the other end of the cable, Coax, you're going to want to put your connectors in on. And what I'm choosing to do is actually, I'm going to go ahead and just with the standard CB style connector, which is actually the PL-259. I'm going to go ahead and put that on here. Then I'm going to go ahead and get the SMA-F connector for the little connector for the radio. And then what I'll do is I'll have the little connector that has the connection for the PL-259, and it'll just screw it on it and it'll connect. Now, this end you just got done, remember, right here, got the braided end. This is for the going down. This will be going up. What I would suggest doing is you can actually, oh heck, you could, if you wanted to, you could actually strip this back a little bit and loop it. Put a piece of paracord on it, throw it in a tree, round this up as high as you can. Put a little weight on this end, right here. And how you can put a weight on this end is you just push this in and you actually separate the braiding. And you can put a little piece of string, paracord, whatever you have handy, and put a little weight in the end, say a bolt, a rock, whatever you have handy there. And that way this holds down. Now, let's go ahead and switch to the other view. Okay, now that I've showed you how to strip the insulation off of here, and I told you you need to put the ends on the hooks into your radio. So you would need the ends to hook it to here, after you take your antenna off. Now, I have this right in the ballpark. So I did actually I did the math first before I found out the calculators online, which I'll show you that in the future how to do that. But this is right in the ballpark for right around, was it 147 megahertz, 147 on the 2 meter band. So I mean, what I'm going to end up doing is, what I will end up doing with this, actually, is putting two butt connector ends, the loop ones, right on both ends, and I'll solder them on after I tune it. To tune it in, make sure the SWR is proper on it. And what I'll do is I'll put the little butt connectors on it, and I'll solder them on. That way I can hook a piece of paracord, fishing line, whatever, and just toss a rock with it over a limb, get it up 10, 15 feet, and it should get me out there. It should get me out there, no problem. I know I didn't go through the physics of this. This is not really meant to be a physics lesson or all the mathematic lessons. This was just basically to show you could do something. It takes what, maybe 5 minutes. It takes longer for me to video this and show it to you than it is just to do it. So you just have to understand that. It takes you very few minutes, and you got yourself an antenna that you can use out in the field to get out in an emergency situation or just to mess around. This is a very simple, very basic antenna. I'm hoping to get a twin lead 300 cabling, and to show you how to make a J-pole that you can be basically done the same. You can deploy it the same way as this, but it should be better. And once I get this finished off and get the wire and get the cables for the J-pole, we'll go ahead and compare this to that. We'll go out in the field. I will use my radio, and we'll see what they'll do. And actually, I got two radios. I should be able to get the other one up and running, and we'll just do a head-to-head. We'll just put them apart. Well, actually, you know, it doesn't make sense to do that. We'll just deploy them, use the same radio, and we'll see how it does. It's all in having fun. This is all in having fun, guys. And if it just takes you a few minutes, 5, maybe 6 minutes to build something that you can get out a little bit further, talk to a couple friends maybe, do some rag chewing with some guys many miles away. It's all in experimenting and having a little bit of fun. I hope somebody gets a little bit of, not quite knowledge, entertainment, maybe learned a little bit something on the way on this video. I hope they do. The other ones, I know you guys are old timers. I have a few old timers that are subbed to me. I don't have many ham radio operators subbed to me, but I have a few old timers that are subbed to me. I know you guys know all about this, and I like to say thank you for sitting through this for me. But this is MuzzleMike. I hope you all have a great week. Signing out.